Yep. Hey, what's up, guys? Your boy Siaka here. I am here with a very special interview. I like to do a thing called We the People. So I like to talk to all different people, all different walks of life here in America. And we talk about their journey and why this country is important, why the freedom of America is so important. And I met my homie right here at the Young Republicans meeting, and I want you guys to meet him too. His name is Azhand. And I wanted him to come in here, and he could tell everything he does. He's a teacher. He's teaching the young mind, the youth, the mind of the youth, try to be better capitalists and all that good stuff. And Hasib, thank you so much for coming on. And can you tell us a little bit about your background? Like, where are you from? Are you born here? Like, what's going on?
Absolutely. Well, thanks for having me, Siaka. I appreciate it's an honor to be here and be in your presence and be part of this great community that you're building. With the Republican Party, the Young Republicans. So happy to be.
Yes.
And yeah, my background is has been quite a journey. First, I can't really share my background without sharing my family's background. And my family is originally from Afghanistan. I know
There you go.
we'd had war there. What for we've been involved there at least for 20 plus years.
Yeah,
And
we have, and
yes,
Afghanistan's been in war for, oof,
yeah.
man,
40
since the
years, yes,
French.
40
Yeah,
plus
since
years.
the
Yeah.
French. Yeah.
Yeah, it's very unfortunate. And
Mm.
my family had to escape Afghanistan, unfortunately, because
And what
as
when was that?
this was around the early 1980s, so from
Okay.
81 to, and I have my waves of uncles, aunts. We had a large family there, grandparents. So the time frame was anywhere from, my dad left earlier, my uncles left later. So it's anywhere from 1980 to 1982, 83 in that time
Mm.
frame.
What was the like the process, like what was going on there to be able to get out? Was it one of those, because my family's Liberian, and during the Civil War people had to go to other countries, and then kind of refugees basically through other countries just to get to areas that seem more safe, or even get all the way over here to the US. Was the process like basically jump from Afghanistan to US? Or did your father and family have to jump through different countries? Like, what was that like?
Great. A great question. Yes. So what happened, it was, yeah, they jump from other countries, the refugee process. So my dad went to Pakistan, then flew to Germany. But the
Hmm.
story, but it wasn't that seamless, obviously.
Yeah.
The communists, so the reason why my family had to escape is, as you know, in the 70s, late 70s, 80s, the Soviet Union, the communists had invaded Afghanistan
Yep.
in 1979. Russian tanks came in, and literally Afghanistan became hell overnight.
Mm.
My uncle was shot and killed. He just disappeared. We think that someone ratted him out for talking against the government. My other uncle was
Mm.
protesting against the government in a group protest, and the government, the officials of the government, they shot all the protesters, and he happened to be one of the protesters, so he was killed, and he was in his
Sorry.
early 20s.
Oh.
Other uncle, yes, he disappeared. We think he was killed as well, and he was in his early 20s as well. And My other uncle got tortured because
Mm.
it's the communist philosophy, right? The state is the cell, and anyone who goes against the good of the community, apparently, from what the leadership says, what
The
the good of
state says,
the
yeah.
state says, yeah, they're a cancer, and we need to wipe them out. So it's that philosophy. So they would make family members spy on each other, things like that. And and my family, we grew up Muslim, and so one of the antithesis against communism is they don't like God or religion, right?
Yeah,
Because
yeah, yeah, yeah. How does that work?
the state is, well, the state is God. The state, you need to be loyal, exclusive loyalty and allegiance to the state, and the state is God, right? So
Hmm. Hmm.
religion, family, all these different elements can show disloyalty to the state, and they would have
Yeah.
spies. People would go to mosque or temple, they would send spies to observe, oh, are they going to the mosque? Is that compromising loyalty? They would have send spies on those individuals. And so my family, they grew up Muslim. They're, God-fearing individuals. They believe in God, of morality and virtue. And they said, no, this is a bad ideology because it goes counter to what we believe in, and it's very tyrannical. They seized my family's property, and they said,
Mm.
well, you can live in this property, but you cannot sell it. So then essentially, the government owns the property.
Wow.
Essentially. So they seize property. They would kill dissidents, just like
Yep.
any normal communist story. Was very unfortunate. And so my grandfather said it was dangerous because now the communist military was recruiting young men who were my dad's age, and they want.
Mm.
I said, no, I don't want any part of this government or be part of or involved in this regime here. And so my grandpa gave him money to escape the country. And so
And ooh, wait. So your grandfather gave your dad money and your grandfather stayed.
my grandfather stayed. Yes, yes. So my grandfather
Wow.
stayed. My grandpa said, "Hey, you need to get out of here," because he was older. They were,
Yeah.
so they were going after the young men. They were
Well,
recruiting the young men in the military.
I mean, you always you hear about parents and you sacrifice yourself for your kids, and to hear that he's like, look, go, but get out of here. You go, like, I'll whatever happens back here to us, what happens, but I want you to get out. Like that is just wow. That's and if you don't mind me asking, then your grandfather, did he end up passing naturally there, or is he still
No,
alive, or did it?
it gets. Yeah, I was gonna explain the story. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, yeah, keep
That
going. I'm
answer will
sorry,
be finished. It's okay. It's all
jump the
right.
gun.
Yeah, yeah. That story will be explained. And so what happened is, my dad, one of his college friends. So my dad graduated from an American university in Afghanistan with his degree in engineering. It's called Kabul University. It was an American
Hmm.
funded university. Okay, Afghanistan during the Cold War years was neutral. Okay,
Hmm.
before the communist coup and the communist takeover, there was a neutral area, and so you had
Hmm.
both influences, the West and the Soviets looking to influence that region, that part of the world. Okay,
Hmm.
and so what happened? He went to an American university, and his college friend actually escaped. He had his own escape story, just like my dad, and he was able to land to Germany. He was living in Germany. He wrote my dad a letter. It was kind of in secret code, not saying, "Hey, come to Germany right away. I found a place
Wow.
for us for us to hang out, room and board," because the government would read the mail actually. Okay, they would
Wow.
read the mail. So he wrote in secret code, whatever that means. That's what my dad said, and so he could decipher. Okay, this is what he's trying to tell me. I get the picture, and so that was his plan. Is my dad gave him money, and during that time there were we call them like tour guides, secret tour guides who you would pay, and they knew all the mountainous routes of Afghanistan to help escort
Wow.
you to escape the country outside of the checkpoints. Because my dad had tried to escape through a checkpoint, the military stopped him and says, "No, go back to the city." So that didn't
Yes.
work. So he had to go to Plan B, and so my grandpa says, "Okay, so I know these individuals who are the secret tour guides who will help, who know the routes of the mountainous regions of Afghanistan. You will go with them. You'll pay them money. They'll guide you out and help you escape through the mountains of Afghanistan to get into Pakistan. From Pakistan, you'll get a plane and go fly to Germany." So that was his plan.
Wow.
So he ended up paying the individual, the secret tour guide. The individual was a very strong, mountainous kind of individual, right?
Yeah,
This
yeah, yeah.
mountains, very in shape. And my dad was like, "Wow, it was hard for me to keep up with them." So
Yeah. City boy. Yeah, right.
yeah, from Kabul. My dad was my parents were from Kabul. My dad was from Kabul, yeah.
Yeah.
And so
Oh, wow.
yeah, yeah, and so they're from the city, exactly the capital, right? And so he escaped through the mountains. It was a 4-day journey. He's going
Wow.
up, and he had to go through. It was interesting. He says that there were the Mujahideen at that time.
Hmm.
They called them the freedom fighters at the time, who were rebelling against the Soviets, who the
Hmm.
U.S. funded them,
Trained.
their missile and
Yeah, that's
trained.
Osama bin Laden. Come on now. We all know
Exactly,
that now.
exactly,
Hmm.
exactly, exactly. So
I even learned that on TV. No.
there you go. Yeah, yeah. So he tried to join them as well, and there was different
Oh, wow.
offshoots of Mujahideen because there became a civil war eventually in
Yeah.
Afghanistan. All the
Yeah.
freedom fighters, they were a civil war against one another, but when they had a common enemy, they kind of united there to defeat the common enemy, and we gave them support with Stinger missiles and things of that nature to
Yep.
defeat helicopters. Anyways, my dad was going through those mountainous regions, and he told me there were checkpoints where you had the Mujahideen freedom fighters that
Wow.
thought I mean a spy, and they would quiz me on and ask me religious type questions. Say this verse in the Quran. Say this prayer. What does this mean?
Really?
They would interrogate him to see if he's a communist spy or not. The way they would assess that is by asking religious questions, because typically the communists were not religious, right?
Let's
They
pause
they
real quick.
Yeah, so my dad had to face the checkpoints with the Mujahideen freedom fighters. They were asking these religious test type questions. Obviously, he was able
Wow.
to pass with flying colors because he happened to be religious. So
Yeah.
that was, but still was startling. You didn't expect that. They were suspicious of you. They thought you were a spy. but he was able to
Hmm.
pass those tests, and he let them know I'm looking to escape the country. They let him go, and so
Wow.
then it was a 4 day journey, and he's like, man, the secret tour guide that I was with, who was going through the mountain, nice athletic body, going through
Yeah,
this.
you struggling.
I was struggling, huffing and puffing. I had to tell him I had to go to the bathroom so I could rest for like 20 minutes. I just lied to him every time. Every however many miles we're able to travel, and so then
Wow.
yeah,
Well,
and then
thank God he got out.
yeah, absolutely, I wouldn't be here if it wasn't for him, right? His sacrifice. So
So you were born here or you were born in Afghanistan?
yeah, no, I was born here, so
Okay, yeah, like myself. So you're first generation.
generation, yeah. So
Yeah, there we go.
exactly, yeah. I was born here, and so my dad went to Germany, and
Hmm.
from Pakistan he went to Germany. He stayed in Germany for about 2.5 years. He applied for there's a foundation called the Tolstoy Foundation,
Mm,
and they're a nonprofit based in America that would sponsor refugees that were escaping from communist countries. They would sponsor
hmm.
your visa. So my dad applied for with that organization. He had to wait for about a couple of years, and his visa was approved from Germany. So he left Germany, and he came to the United States in Greenville, South Carolina. All
All
right.
right,
So
there you go.
yeah,
Greenville.
yeah.
There you
Greenville, South Carolina. Lived there for about uh, maybe a year or so, a few years, and he was able to. It was a nonprofit. They set him up with room and board for temporary purposes.
Mm,
So he obviously came here legal as a legal immigrant here, and he was a draftsman. So he worked for an architecture firm there as a draftsman. $4 an hour at the time. This was 1982, 83 in that
yeah.
time. And
And
so
the dollar was strong. No.
exactly. So
Yeah,
he
or it was
just
coming back. Yeah.
yeah, I was coming back exactly. So he's just starting his life, and then he was able to sponsor my entire family. So this is going back to my grandparents.
Wow.
So my grandparents and my extended family. My dad had large siblings. Well, one brother unfortunately passed in Afghanistan, so he had three other brothers, five sisters, and so
Wow.
they all had similar escape stories. They hired a secret
Mm,
tour guide, went through the mountains, and they lived in Pakistan, Islamabad, Pakistan, for about 8 months.
okay.
Settled there, and then once my dad finished all his paperwork, he was able to sponsor the entire tribe, and they came here.
Wow.
Yeah, my dad has worked as a campus architect for Cal State University of San Bernardino for 30 years. He retired in 2018, so he lives in Irvine, California. Nice, decent, cushy retirement, So it's,
He earned
um,
it.
yeah, he earned it. So you live the American dream. And look, he didn't, English was not his first language. He didn't even get a degree here. And he was giving
Hmm.
PhD individuals who are not of the same ethnicity or orders for, 20 something years, right? So that's
Yeah.
a dream. Then my uncle has his own clinic. He's a doctor. My
Oh,
other uncle
wow.
is executive. So it's great. We instilled that culture of ambition, drive,
Hmm.
mentality, and that's part of the American dream that I want to share today.
Well,
But that's my background.
so so then let me ask you this. What was, you're growing up in a home. The background is, hey, we climbed through mountains to get over here.
Yeah.
What was the understanding of America when it came to your family? It comes down to what the expectation was for you because you're here in America, as an immigrant, as just, your father's son. What was that like?
Oh, great question. Yeah, my dad really instilled in us not only like he always said this is the best country, it's the best country. So there's always the sense of gratitude for being
Mm,
American, and there's also this sense of work ethic and discipline that hey,
mhm,
you need to make the best of your opportunity. You need to capitalize on your opportunity. There is no progress without struggle. So my dad gave
mm,
me chores to do growing up. He really pushed and emphasized education. It was given that I was going to go to a
mm,
master's degree in business administration as well. I'm a professor at a city college as well. So he really emphasized that, hey, you have to set goals, valid education in the sense that, education that will lead to a career path, things like that. Like you need to focus
mhm,
on that. So it was really that push, that emphasis to excel, to own property, to build wealth. That
mhm.
was instilled in us early on. So I get that DNA, that side of me from his example.
Now, would you say you guys, your father, is we had a sense of religion that had this push to want to make sure you work hard, you accomplish your best self, if you will. Do you think that was a sense of religion? Was that just like, hey, we're in a capitalist society, money baby? Like what was, in a sense, kind of there's something bigger than just, if you will, if that makes any sense.
Yes, yes. So my dad is religious. So he believes in the God of Abraham, Isaac, Moses, Ishmael, and
Yeah,
Jesus. So he believes in the universal God that's outside of
time and
the
space.
universe, yeah, time and
Hmm.
space. So he believes in that same God that Jews and Christians believe in,
Hmm.
and a lot of the same moral principles. He does follow that. So I would say, as far as his moral character, definitely a
Hmm.
great example. And he always says you have to serve others. It's not just, life is not about consumption, it's to be of service of others. So I think
Wow.
that capitalistic type element, I don't know if he led with that, but it came from
Hmm.
more of a foundation that, hey, if you read the 10 Commandments, or honor thy, love thy neighbor. I don't know if that's in the 10 Commandments per se, but in main religious
That's
max,
that's Christianity right there, baby. You
yeah,
got
love
that.
thy neighbor as you love
As
thyself,
you
right?
yourself. Yeah, that's
Yes, yes,
Jesus.
yes, that's
Yeah, no,
Christianity. But it's
but
just
that's
more,
good though.
it's more of that principle
Hmm.
of being of service to others,
And
right?
you have that sense of it's a duty. God puts you here.
Yes,
You need to, and by loving others, you're fulfilling your purpose.
yes,
And which would I want to get over to that purpose, and I think we kind of mentioned before we got on, but within that purpose, like you mentioned it, you have you teach at a city college, and what are you teaching specifically? Because I think that when it comes down to serving and what you talk about, either give a man a fish or teach a man to fish, and go ahead and tell us what you're teaching, because I think this is about teaching a man to fish.
absolutely. Yes. So I teach small business entrepreneurship. I
Mm.
ran a business after a couple years after I graduated college. I worked for the U.S. Census Bureau. It was a government job, but I hated my job. It was a cubicle all day. I called it the cubicle of doom. So I moved all the way to Washington D.C. area. It was a great experience. I lived in D.C. and hung out, and I met a couple individuals who are in the government military contracting space. They gave me some ideas. I started a staffing business, built that up for several years, and then once there were some federal budget cuts, I had to sort of pivot, and I started a speaking and consulting type business, and where I have consulting clients, and then I also went into higher education. I've taught incarcerated students business and entrepreneurship skills, so they would not go back to prison, how to write a business plan. And now my role is I work at Los Angeles Southwest College. It's a junior college here, and I'm started an entrepreneurship club on campus. I teach small business management, entrepreneurship, microeconomics, macroeconomics, and I teach them business law, and I teach them the value of, of entrepreneurship, of at
Mm.
least, even if they don't want to start a business, at least the principles that if you are in
Yeah.
the work world, everything, whether it's government, nonprofit, for profit, everything's business. So understanding operations, understanding
Hmm.
management,
Yeah.
understanding communication, understanding marketing, these are essential elements that we need to learn this in schools. I actually also have been tasked to teach at a charter school as well, and
Mm.
kids at 17 and 18 in Compton
Hmm.
and Watts, primarily African American and Hispanic students, about these concepts. And I said, I wish I was your age when a lot of individuals wish that they were your age,
Yeah.
uh, when they were learning these kind of principles. That
Yeah.
hey,
No, I mean, I did. Yeah, seriously.
yeah, there
Yeah.
are assets. I teach them, hey, what's the difference between an asset, liability? What's an income
Yeah.
statement? There are 4 different asset classes to build your wealth in the long term: business, real estate, paper assets, commodities. Your
Mm.
education is so important. So I'm really teaching them that, hey, we live in this system. Um, True freedom is financial freedom. So I teach
Yes.
the concept of financial freedom. That is true freedom, right? Otherwise, we'll be a
Yep.
slave. So I teach them these concepts. I teach them these principles. And I also make them in my business law class read the principles of the Declaration of Independence and the Constitution as well.
Wow.
Um,
Wow. What's your reasoning? What's your reasoning behind that then? That's very
yeah.
interesting.
Yeah, it's really important because I feel that when it comes to liberal arts and economics, many institutions, I don't know if it's most, but many institutions across the country tend to have more of a left-leaning approach to these things,
Hmm.
where
Yeah.
America's irredeemable. It's inherently racist. It's an irredeemable. It's an imperialistic country. They take America's birth defects and they make that the totality of what America is all
Yes.
about. It's ridiculous,
Yes.
right? You take a birth defect, it's irredeemable. So I want to counter these narratives and look at and show expose students to nuances. Or they'll say, "Oh, capitalism is greed. It's evil. It's greedy. We need to tax the rich." And so my job is to point out all the fallacies, point out economic facts, and also expose economic fallacies, and also
Mhm.
from the political perspective, show them political facts and expose political fallacies as well that
Wow.
are in terms of arguments. Yes.
Well, so let me this is fascinating. You're going into certain areas, certain communities, and I'm so because by the time someone comes to community college, like they've for the most part have gone, you know what, this is what I want to do. They said and they read it. And 17 and 18 may be an extra credit or something where it's just they need to fill in some requests. So now it's more, I would say you probably get more of those that may not even have understood what's going on that in the financial world or that financial literacy. What are some of the fallacies, I would say, more from the 17, 18 year olds that you're hearing?
Yeah.
Maybe even both sides. Let's go all across the board. What are the fallacies you hear from high school, and what are some of the fallacies you hear in college, and kind of what are your response to those? Like maybe one or two main ones you always keep
Sure,
hearing.
sure. Yeah, no, some common ones. I don't know if there's that much of a difference for the ones that I've heard. It's because they're quite closer in age, right? So it's not
Okay.
that much of a disparity.
Okay.
But,
Fair
but
enough. Fair enough.
if I come something pops up, I'll let you know. But I would just say the common fallacy that I've heard is similar to all blacks, and these are new nuances, but in America, right, all blacks are
Yeah.
slaves, America's
Yeah.
racist. So those common ones. And that's why I really make sure that, especially my business law course, that
Hmm.
I show, hey, here's the organic, we have in America we have 4 organic laws, right? These are documents or laws that shape the nation. That's what organic
Yep.
law means, right? The
Hmm.
first was the Declaration of Independence, the U.S. Constitution, the Bill of Rights, and then the Northwest Ordinance of 1787, right? That's the
Hmm.
policy for the territories as well. The
Hmm.
Northwest Ordinance written by Thomas Jefferson, okay?
That's right.
And so these are the 4 organic laws. So it's really, and then also if you look at the Declaration, those are the spiritual. That's why Margaret Thatcher, the great Margaret Thatcher, said America is an idea and Europe is a history, meaning that
Uh,
America is a principle-based republic, and
yes.
principles are expressed in the Declaration of Independence. And if you read Thomas Jefferson's writing, the founding American founding fathers, I consider them, alongside my dad. My dad's my first
Yeah.
hero. Say the American founding fathers are also part of that equation. I consider them my heroes, right? The elite of the American founding
Yeah.
fathers, right?
About
So
20-year-olds there involved in that
yeah,
building
yeah,
the country.
exactly. Exactly, the formation of the country. And then so if you and so with my students, to expose some of these fallacies, I let them know. It says, look, in the Declaration, it says all men are created equal, and that was at that time a generic masculine pronoun. If you took Noah Webster's dictionary at the time, an American dictionary at the time, men was a generic masculine pronoun that meant human beings. So it says all
Hmm.
human beings are created equal. If
Mm.
you read the Virginia Declaration of Rights, and it says George Mason, use the same language, and it says equally free and equally independent. I'm
Hmm.
sorry, equally free and
Independent, yeah.
equally independent. And it doesn't mean that we're all equal. It means that we are all equal when it comes to political equality, right? We're
Hmm.
all equal in terms of our ability to take our life into our own hands, right? To be
Hmm.
independent, to be free. We're free and equal human beings. That meant political equality. It
Yes.
doesn't necessarily mean social equality. It just meant
Hmm.
political equality, that no one else has the right to tell us what to do. We're free and equal human beings. And I explain what equality meant from the founding fathers, from the original intent perspective. And that is
Hmm.
very important. That's where the difference, it's not equality of outcome, it's equality under the law. We're all
Hmm.
free and equal human beings. And the key word is human beings, right? So it doesn't matter what your race is, what your ethnicity is, as long as you're a human being, we are free and equal. And it's the government's job to protect our rights and liberties because we establish a social contract, and I
Mm.
make sure I mention these elements, right? And the Constitution is actually the form of government that is designed to protect those rights and liberties expressed in the Declaration. And I go through that. Yes.
Do you I would say, you know, since they're all around the same age range, are you finding yourself uh kind of pushing through a lot of the wokeism that's going on, or are you able to really kind of like say hit your points and then really just get into why we're here and arm these kids with the tools to get out there and like you said, not everyone's going to be a business person, but just to have an basic understanding of business. You know,
Correct.
I wish I did growing up and didn't hit it till my mid 30s. You know, how much more could I have done in those first 15 years of my life, or you know, adult life? Are you you finding that you're having to wade through a lot of stuff first to get to the point of, all right, now we're moving, you're learning, I see you getting it, or do you feel like the kids are coming in and their energy is towards that? So it's more like maybe it's kind of mentioned here and there, but you're like, yo, these kids are ready to learn, they're kind of sponges, or are you finding that you kind of have to break through some stuff first?
You know what I notice in these in some of these communities is I
Mm,
feel like their the knowledge, the information that they consume at that age, they actually, a lot of things that I share with them, it's like the first time they've heard it.
right.
And so uh, I would, the last paragraph that you said, in the sense that, yeah, I don't think I have to go through too much wokeism, but also I know my material so well where I can bring both sides,
Mm,
both points, and I'm very well read in my subject matter, where it's
hmm
really hard for them to shut me down. I'm just gonna
hmm
100, as my students
Yeah.
say. I know my subject matter that I'm talking about more than most of the students in there, at least from what I've observed. To
Mm,
where, and I also let them know I welcome, this is a free speech zone. I welcome them to discuss, to challenge, to bring questions. So it's not me just there lecturing. And I also bring in different sides. Well, hey, one side when it comes to tariffs, some people believe in protectionism, some people believe in free trade, and I
mm.
bring in alternative arguments and viewpoints so they can also become critical and independent thinkers. However,
So
if there is,
so cool. So it sounds like you know, yeah, you set up your framework. Like these are important factors for the basis of this country, which just is what it is. Then based on those economical principles that you've learned in order to seen your father, seen your uncles, your aunts, you know, your family, yourself included, gain freedom through economic freedom. Now when you're in there and discussing, you know, possible different forms of, you know, economics throughout the world, history and all this, you can just be blunt and very clear about what things work and what things haven't, what has helped more people or less people. So it's almost like instead of having to stand there and go, no, socialism is wrong because of this, it's like, well, in these countries it makes it harder because here your equity, you know, your sweat equity is not as equal as it is over here, vice versa, or however you want to spend. You're really just speaking from how economic freedom is the key. And if anything else comes up, this is how it can get in a way for economic freedom. Is that kind of where you're going with most? So it's not like you're defending capitalism, you're defending US. You know, you're just logically this would makes more sense for these kids.
exactly. It's more of I'm presenting my conclusion and my premises, and I'm
Hmm
getting facts, and it's coming up with a conclusion. It's like an inference. It infers that, hey, look, this is the best system. This is why America is great, or this is why, classical liberal type of democracies tend to fare better than the alternatives type of,
Mm.
right? So I always like, again, the logic and reason and facts and how I present my conclusions.
Okay, so let me it's almost in the same vein, but a little pivot, right? So you're Afghan kid growing up here. And where exactly did you grow up? Like your high school?
Redlands, California, San Bernardino County, in that region. That's where I
That
grew up.
region. So you're in here, you're in California. You know, we're closer to the same age, so you're hearing a lot of the same stuff, and America's bad, this, that, and the other. Redlands is not as bad. San Bernardino is not like LA County, so it's a little different. So let me ask you, when you're growing up, and that is the mentality you get from your parents, and even me growing up in a very liberal area, like it was still at the time very pro-Americana, even though it's like we need to fight to clean ourselves up, but USA all the way. Now it's we need to fight to clean ourselves up because USA's always sucked. And it's like, no, that's not the case. What was that like growing up? Were you getting more of a were you getting any pushback about being pro-America like that growing up? Or were you like, no, this is everyone was like, we're going all in? What was that like growing up? And I guess then when did you hit a point where you saw, wait a minute, it's something wrong with loving this country? Like what were those 2 points like?
Oh, this is a great point. Yeah, so growing up, again, this was in the 90s and the early 2000s. So I believe there was less divergence, less polarization in this country when
Yeah,
it came to basic core principles, the understanding of the Declaration of Independence, the understanding of the Constitution. Now,
yeah.
problem is that the left has gone too far, where the foundation, they want to alter the Constitution, they don't like the Constitution, they want to change the principles of the Declaration to include positive rights and things of that nature. And we can get more on depth on that later on. But I think there's much more polarization. But at least
Yeah,
at the phase of when I was growing up, I mean, Bill Clinton was really moderate, welfare
yeah.
cuts, right? He worked with the Republicans, capital
Mhm.
gains tax cut rates.
Wow.
Their surplus, and that wasn't due to him. Again, we had a majority
He'd be
Republican Congress from 1994 to 2000, so there
he'd
was,
be
and he's reaping the benefits from Reagan's administration, right?
yes. And he would be considered right wing right now then, huh?
Exactly. He would be just like John
Wow.
F. Kennedy. JFK would also be considered right wing. He was a free
Oh
market
yeah.
there. So him, Clinton. So I'm just saying, just
Yeah.
giving you the context of me growing up. So I
Yeah.
don't think that I didn't really notice any flack about me being, patriotic, pro-American, anything like that. In
Mm.
my elementary years, middle school years, even high school years. It wasn't until, to answer the latter part of your question, it wasn't until I would say college. Okay,
Mm.
and I went to Cal State San Bernardino.
Mm.
I was actually a political science major in Cal
Oh.
State San Bernardino. However, my department was conservative, so they really helped shape my worldview from a political perspective.
Mhm.
However, my general ed classes, they were, perspectives on gender, race, and racism. So all
Yeah,
the
yeah.
the general ed classes were definitely mainstream kind of what they were hinting
Bullshit. No,
more. Well,
I'm sorry. Sorry.
keep it real, man. Keep it 100. I love
You're
it. Yeah,
right. I
yeah, yeah,
mean, like
yeah.
I took those classes too, and oh my God.
History. Like I took a history class, and it was really teaching me to hate my country. Like it's crazy.
Wow.
I mean, yes, America does. No country has a perfect history or historical
No.
origin. I get it, but but at least expose the nuances, and that's what I like to do to my students. I said, yes, slavery existed. It was comprised in the southern part of the country, but when the Constitution established, 5 of the northern states, slavery was illegal, and 5 of
Mhm.
the northern states. And if you look at the Constitution, there were compromises made to see slavery hopefully to be extinct, right? And then
Mhm.
Thomas Jefferson, in the first draft of the Declaration of Independence, criticized the slave trade. And when he wrote the Northwest Ordinance, guess what he wrote there? He said that in any new territory, slavery shall be prohibited. Any new
Yeah,
territory.
exactly.
So you could see the clear bias towards slavery extinction, but due to political exigency, they
Mhm.
had to have a United States because the
Yep.
southern states would not have bought into a United States if there wasn't slavery. So it's like, let's get rid of one evil first, the evil of disunion. Let's get rid of that
Yep.
first. We'll
Mhm.
tackle the evil of slavery later on. So it was just, you have to look at the political situation. And so, yeah, and I was in my history class in college, and it's like, oh, we funded this or we funded that. And yeah, no government's perfect, but it's like, what narrative are they trying to play? Yeah.
Yeah, it's interesting, right? So, my wife ended up finding this book by I don't know if you heard of David Barton by chance. David Barton's amazing. He's part of Patriot Academy. Does this thing Breakers, and it's like a lot of the history of our country. And he just found this book recently called "A Tale of a Thousand Tears," and it's about how the U.S. government, the Navy, established a blockade naval unit to go to the West African coast and stop the slave trade. They partnered up. They were called the African Squadron. They
Oh,
ended up, yeah, they partnered up with England because England by 1809 they had their they had their military, their navy patrolling the coast. So they started in 1809 and America got in there, I want to say 1819, 1820. And they went and they were basically patrolling that whole area till 1861, the same year that the Civil War started. So when some people, and I'm in the middle of reading it now, so I'll definitely share with the audience and I'll share with you more later. But uh, if we look at it, I know a lot of the arguments for that and the Civil War to go, it wasn't about slavery, it was about economics, right? A lot of people try to like reduce like,
Yeah.
and that was something that was if slavery was a big part of a huge part of the Civil War, but I go, it was Civil War, it was slavery and economics. Because if you're blockading people from receiving the goods they need in order to run their business, if the goods are human beings and morally you go, that's wrong, that's going to affect the economics of this business and they're going to get mad. And now you're going to have so I found out basically it's both. It's not one or the other. It's both. And I think it comes from, like you said, that the living law, which is God led. This is so that we have a moral basis, and it was trickling in. People miss also culturally up until this point of the late 1700s to early 1800s. Slavery was cultural norms around the world, and we have more slaves now than we did back when there's slave trade was going on. So slave trade for human beings is not a new
Oh,
thing.
not the exception. Slavery is the norm.
Slavery is the norm. So when you're sitting there, and we're the only country to put our blood on the line to end this. So I find it fascinating. People miss a lot of that stuff, but it's something to go. It's called the African Squadron. Started in like 1819 and 1861, and they went out there and they were patrolling and working directly with people from Liberia, where my family's from, and it was a whole thing there. So it's a really fascinating story. So you check it out when you get A Tale of a Thousand Tears. It's a really interesting book. Yeah, no. So, dude, I think this has been amazing so far. We've been talking about a whole bunch of different things. Let me go on the last part of this little interview we're doing here, and I want you to, what do you see from teaching from young Republicans, from your own existence right now, from us you connecting with more conservatives? What do you see as the future of this country when we know we're in such a polarizing time? We have family members not talking to each other over certain medical decisions. Every one group of people thinking a other group of people are hateful and don't want any, don't care about anyone. What do you see? Do you see hope? Do you see like, all right, everyone got to get guns? Like what's your vision of this future right now from where you stand and the work that you're doing?
Okay, yeah, great question. And when the Constitution was written in the Constitutional Convention there in Independence Hall, I think there was a woman that came to Benjamin Franklin and said, "What was the form of government?" And he said, "It's a republic if we can
And
keep
keep
it,
it.
right?
Mm-hmm.
If we can keep it." So there is hope for America, but it comes with a lot of conditions, right? It comes with a lot of conditions, and there needs to be strong patriots to, you know, there's a lot of there's the moral decline of America, right? With moral relativism, with historicism, with nihilism. So there's the moral dimension of the decline of America. There's also the economic decline of America with large government spending. We're the largest debtor nation, $31 trillion in debt. So there's the economic factor. So we need more patriots who believe in American foundational principles of small government, of objective, moral, universal truths that guide us, guide individual behavior, guide national behavior, and a lot of that from our political principles come from the Declaration. If we just stay true to those principles, that's what Lincoln said. These are principles that guide us, right? All human it expresses what the role of government is in society. If you read that document,
Yeah.
it also expresses what the role of the individual is in society when government crosses lines. So
Mm-hmm.
we already have a blueprint. I think we just need to return to that blueprint. And we need patriots like us and more patriots to stand together and to be vocal about what America is, to be educated, to share, and also it's important for us to, whatever sphere of influence that I have, whether I have my podcast or I partner with other individuals or I'm in an educational academic atmosphere where I'm influencing, like I got to figure out we all have to figure out where are our spheres of influence. My
Mm-hmm.
spheres of influence, I have clients that I consult. I'm in an education institution where I'm teaching young students. That's my sphere of influence. and how can I share principles and expose them to principles that are pro-America, what the
Yeah.
principles are about, and pro-capitalism, and so we need to. Now, my dream is that I want to be alive, in in the 300th birthday of America. So it'd be what, July 4, 2076. I'll be 88 years
Oh,
old. Okay? So
oh,
that's my dream. I have a dream.
2076.
Yes, I have a dream by July 4, 2076, on the 300th anniversary of the signing of the Declaration of Independence, that America
Okay.
is still an intact republic, that I'll have grandkids, and that America is still a light upon nations. However, in order to get there, it's a lot of work to be done between now and then. We have to educate individuals on the principles of America, what the Bill of Rights are, what natural rights are, the economy, pro nuclear family, pro economics, pro individual rights. And this needs to be pushed to the forefront to the furthest extent. And I
Mhm.
will, every waking breath of my life, I'm committed to this cause, to preserving the republic, until I die. I may die tomorrow, I may die 80 years from now.
In
But
in
that
2076.
yeah. But we have to have that spirit, right? I'm against
Yes.
radical Islamism. I'm a Muslim, but I'm against radical Islamism. Um,
Yes, sir.
but I'll tell you this: the spirit of the Taliban,
Yes.
like like obviously it's radical, it's towards evil ends. So I'm against that.
Hmm.
However, their spirit, where we don't give an F, and we are going to do whatever we have to take this over. Obviously, it's
Hmm.
towards tyrannical ends. However, I think we need that kind of a spirit where,
That
hey,
boldness.
yes, that like these principles are part of my soul. I will die for these principles. I will
Hmm.
spend every waking breath preserving, protecting, defending these principles
Yes,
until I.
sir.
We need to have that spirit, and there needs to be enough Americans that have that spirit.
Yes, sir. Thank you, Hasib, my friend. So this is amazing, and look, so we'll see you in 2076, and we'll do another show. We'll do more before then, just so say. But I want to put it out here first. We look up and you see two, I would say, still handsome but graying men on this screen, and we're celebrating 300 years of America being the best country on the planet. Thank you again, sir. Thank you for taking time out and chatting, and the people that get to know you. Real quick, tell them how they can find you, if on social media. Just where can they find you if they want to know more, if they want to reach out.
Yeah, just go on Facebook and you can find my handle. It's just my first and last name, Hasib Azhand, or Azhand. I go by either one. And you just type that there and you can reach out, or you can reach out to Siaka. And if you want to have direct contact with me, Siaka has my contact information and he can connect us both.
Awesome, my man. Thank you again so much. You have a wonderful night, everyone. Remember, get out there, do your part where you can, where your sphere of influence is very important. Wherever your feet are, that's where you can do the best. Thank you, guys. Have a great night, my man. We'll talk soon. I'll see you soon. See you at the next YR meeting.
Absolutely.
All right, brother. Bye.
All right, cool. Recording. All right.
Oh no, wait. I gotta.